While health experts are warning that the United States is already experiencing as many as 100,000 new cases of coronavirus in the country, unfortunately, we have Republican lawmakers who are on the warpath, not against this pandemic, but against health experts like Dr. Anthony Fauci. So with that said, let's go to Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who, by the way, let me remind you, earlier floated the idea of allowing elderly people to die so they can go back to work and reopen the economy. Now he's actually attacking Anthony Fauci in one of the most ridiculous ways imaginable. Take a look.
The reality is a lot different. We've had 2,424 people die, and New York has had over 31,000. Even California has had almost 3 times as much as Texas. And remember, Laura, those 2 states have been locked down the whole time while we have been open. So locking down doesn't work. If it did, those 2 states would be doing better than Texas.
Alrighty, so fact check time, because he is alleging that California and New York are far worse than Texas, and Texas did the right thing by opening businesses back up prematurely. That is actually not the case. So if you look at the data, and this is from Johns Hopkins University, you of course need to look at the number of coronavirus cases per day per capita, right? Because of course, in a more densely populated state, you're gonna have a higher number overall, but how about per capita, per 100,000 people? Well, in Texas, right now as it stands, there are about 5,733 new cases per day, or 20 cases per 100,000 people per day. In California, there is 14 new cases per 100,000 people per day. So look, California, I am not going to pretend is doing well. California did the right thing in opening businesses up slowly, but unfortunately people didn't take the social distancing guidelines seriously, have not been wearing masks, and that is what has led to a surge in coronavirus cases in the state of California. In Texas, they didn't take it seriously from the beginning, and as you know, they prematurely opened businesses up, which is why you're seeing a larger number of new coronavirus cases in that state. Now let's look at New York. In New York, site of the country's largest outbreak, the state's curve rose sharply before reaching over 170,000 total cases in April. Since then, new cases have fallen from about 10,000 per day in mid-April to fewer than 700 per day in late June. So I just think it's important to do that fact check and not give Dan Patrick's ridiculous argument any type of validity or credibility.
I get it. He wants to open and he cares about that more than what happens with coronavirus. Either, purely for economic reasons, he falsely believes that pretending that the pandemic doesn't exist will be better economically for Texas. Maybe he thinks that, or maybe he thinks it's in Trump's, and national Republicans' best interest when it comes to the election to just pretend that it's not happening, no matter how many people get it or are hospitalized or die to it. Maybe I think he's wrong in all of those counts. The idea that, look, New York, they locked down. And look, they're still suffering. Like, can you imagine if they had not? What if New York hadn't? What if we hadn't freaked out that first month, especially the second month? What if we hadn't been making such a big deal about masks for the past couple of months? What if we hadn't been talking over the past few weeks about the rise of cases in Florida and Arizona and Texas and California that are all now reinstituting at least limited lockdowns? Do people like Abbott or DeSantis, do they seem like the sort of people that would have independently come to the conclusion that those things needed to happen if there wasn't a public outcry? Now, based on our experience with them. So look, I lived in Texas for a number of years. I still have family in Texas. I just want the people of Texas to know that there are people who do care about their lives. They just don't necessarily inhabit the governor's mansion at this particular point.
And in regard to his comments on Anthony Fauci, well, here he is, again, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, questioning the validity and the credibility of Fauci and the advice he's given so far.
She said today that he's concerned about states like Texas that skipped over certain things. He doesn't know what he's talking about. We haven't skipped skipped over anything. The only thing I'm skipping over is listening to him. You have a lot of doctors on your show from day one. Your doctors have been right almost every time, and he has been wrong every time on every issue. I don't need his advice anymore. We'll listen to a lot of science. We'll listen to a lot of doctors, and Governor Abbott, myself, and other state leaders will make the decision. No, thank you, Dr. Fauci.
Well, while he rejects Dr. Anthony Fauci's advice, let me just give you some numbers on what's taking place in Texas today. For instance, in Texas, more than 6,500 patients were hospitalized with the coronavirus Tuesday, and that's a record-breaking number and a figure that has gone up nearly every day since June 1st. So the situation in that state continues to worsen. And in the middle of it, you have local leadership, local politicians arguing that they're going to just reject the inconvenient truth about what needs to be done in order to get a handle on this virus.
46,000 cases yesterday, and you can't get through to him. He thankfully behind the scenes is like he sort of shut down the bars a little bit or something. But going on Fox News, he has to pretend that he hasn't even done that, because actually doing something to serve the best interests of your constituents would get you mocked or attacked on Fox News. And they, after all of this, they still don't get it. They've decided this is going to be a culture war thing. Noted right-wing scholar Charlie Kirk yesterday tweeted, "End all the lockdowns. Let people be responsible for themselves and make good decisions." We're in the second phase of the first wave, and some people are getting scared anew. Oh my God, I really hoped that we were past this, but apparently we weren't. And he's like, no, throw gasoline on that fire, because I implied for months now that this isn't serious, and you don't have to take it seriously. And I'm not gonna let your impending death change my mind about that. And whether it's the pundits or the governors, that's what they're saying. We gave credit really fast. We gave credit on the damage report to Mitch McConnell and Sean Hannity for advising people to wear masks recently, because that's the lowest possible bar, but they've done it. But beyond that, doesn't seem like any death count is gonna get through to them.
I was wondering why it is that they were so willing to pivot toward mask wearing all of a sudden. Goldman Sachs just released an analysis indicating that if people wear masks, our economy can save a lot of money. And of course, they're worried about their bottom line, $1 trillion, exactly. And so look, we live in a hyper-capitalistic society where money trumps everything, including human lives. And so do they care what Anthony Fauci has to say, an actual health expert on these issues? No. Do they care what Goldman Sachs has to say? Damn right they do. And now you have the Mitch McConnells and the Sean Hannitys of the world all of a sudden changing their tune and urging people to wear masks. By the way, Vice President Mike Pence as well.
When you sign up for a spend and save account at aspiration.com/TYT, we will plant 10 trees. Let's save the planet together.